your own like demiurge prison.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hello.
And welcome back to Mystic in the Machine. We do apologize for our miniature absence. Jake went away for a while.
Hang on, you're really quiet.
Oh, am I quiet?
Yeah.
Can you hear us properly?
There we go. You should be normal now.
Let us know in the chat if you can hear us properly. But yeah, sorry for our absence, our week-long hiatus. Jake went away. He went to Scotland to do some work, and then he also went to a bunch of raves.
Well, just one rave.
One rave.
Just one rave. It was pretty epic though. It was like length and breadth of the country, going straight from Scotland to Bristol. But
Yeah.
you know, it was good fun. It was Jungle Syndicate 15 years, so it was pretty heavy. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty mental.
Was it like a bunch of different artists?
Yeah, there's like 5 different rooms, and
Someone said my mic is still low.
nah, it won't be anymore.
Are you sure? Are you 100% sure?
Oh, lol.
Sorry, guys.
Now you should.
Can you hear
work.
me now?
Sorry. It's because I was fucking around with my base station for the first time in like fucking 5 years, and I had the cable plugged into my interface.
Let me know if you can hear me now in the chat.
your mic should be working fine now.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So as I was saying, okay, it says your mic is okay. He says your mic is okay though, Jake. I hope mine is fine now.
Yeah, everyone's mic is fine.
Okay,
Don't worry about it.
are you sure?
Yeah, we can move on from the
This
mics.
is like your job, and you're failing it epically
I forgot
in this tiny little setup.
I forgot that was plugged in. I forgot that was
It's
plugged
fine,
in. It's
it's
my
fine.
bad.
Okay, we're good now. Yeah, as I was saying, yeah, Jake went away. He's been being naughty, doing all kinds of crazy shit. I got sick. I'm recovering from a cold, which you can hear. But I also, this week, I met a fan of the show for the first time.
Nice.
IRL, which was really nice because I'm doing the whole tarot tier on our Patreon now. I'm pretty much meeting people or doing whatever, meeting people however they want to meet, basically. So video call, email, whatever. And if you're in town, I'm happy to read for you.
There you go.
Happy to read for you. But yeah, that was the first time I've met someone who is a friend of the show. And they weren't a total weirdo.
That's good.
They were a weirdo in a good way, but they didn't
like,
creep me out, which is
it's always that thing, isn't it, when you're meeting someone from the internet?
Yeah.
You don't know how it's gonna go.
No, I feel like we're small enough to where we can be friendly and meet people and stuff. If we were a bigger podcast, I probably wouldn't, because with a bigger audience, they're more likely to be crazy people and
yeah, I don't
the
know.
audience.
It's also just, I don't know. I remember meeting a friend off the internet for the first time at the end of last year as well. But I'd known him for like quite a while, so it was just sort of like, oh yeah, this is just sort of chill. This is just like whatever. It didn't feel like weird or whatever.
Yeah,
we just
true.
like known each other for fucking years.
True. He gave me a book, this really cool book called A General Theory of Magic, which I'm excited to read. And yes, if you meet me IRL, I accept books.
On top of the tarot payment.
Yeah, on top of that, I accept books. I accept tarot decks. I accept bottles of rosé.
Runes.
Yes.
Other magical items, crystals.
Anything.
There you go.
What about you? What would you accept if you met a friend of the show?
Steam gift card.
That shows such a lack of imagination, Jake.
Steam gift cards.
A Steam gift card. Wow.
Nintendo shop gift cards.
Oh my god.
You know, what was it? I don't know. I can't.
Basically, just the thoughtless gifts that your like nan gives you at Christmas time.
I can't get like they couldn't get me the little tokens for the gashapon, could they? So like, what's it gonna be?
What other otaku gifts? Can you comics? I think,
like if you got a good comic, sure.
Comics. I think comic is good for Jake. But yeah, it's been a fun, weird week working, stressing out, being sick, traveling, and also the world has been in a weird place for the last couple of.
I don't even know, man. I've just been so fucking high for the last week. To be honest. Just like working on music, doing in my own little fucking world, like really not giving a shit. So fill me in. Like what's going on? Why is everyone losing their minds now?
Well, I don't know. Like the major thing in the zeitgeist currently that everyone's freaking out about is the Great American Eclipse.
Oh,
which is what it's being called right now.
Is it that great? Isn't it only like a few seconds?
Well, it is only a few seconds, but I guess because it's like, I think the last one happened in 2017.
That means all men have really great sex. Let's just put that in perspective. Come on.
Oh my god.
We're gonna start like making a few seconds great. Some people call that premature. I'd say it's a premature eclipse.
Premature eclipse. Well, I don't know. Like, people are like obviously freaked out because obviously they don't happen very often. I mean, the last one that happened was in 2017, but there isn't going to be another one for a very long time. And obviously there are lots of synchronicities that align with this current eclipse.
It's always like what you make it, though, isn't it? It's sort of like a little bit like there's a great thought experiment in Robert Anton Wilson's Prometheus Rising, where he tells you to look out for the number 23, or so I think he probably definitely said the number 23 because he's such a Discordian little funny man.
Yeah.
But the point was, like, if you now think every time you see the number 23, you're going to hold more value or meaning or whatever over that thing because you've had it in your head that you're like looking out for this thing. And then all of a sudden it will feel like you're seeing 23 more than ever everywhere you walk now. You'll see 23 because that's kind of in your mind.
There was that thought experiment he talked about where you basically tell yourself that you're going to find a dime.
And then when you find it, like, do you put that up to, it's because I prophesized myself? Or, and then he says to do it the other way around of like, I'm not going to find anything. Or something like that.
I did it. We don't have dimes in England, but I did
penny.
I did it for a 5p piece. Because that's kind of a rarer one to find. And then I did find one, but in the like stupidest way.
How?
I think I was at the grocery store, and like the machine scanning thing.
Oh, someone left a change or something.
Yeah, someone left their change or whatever. So I found it in the most like stupidest, like non-serendipitous way.
It's pretty serendipitous.
Kind of. I was hoping to stumble across it in a more meaningful fashion than something that obvious.
I remember once when I was little, someone walked away from a fiver that had come out of those machines because they were pretty new at the time. I walked up and was just like, fucking bless. Free donuts.
Free donuts. Oh my god. But with obviously there are lots of synchronicities occurring with the eclipse. My favorite being currently that it's on the anniversary of the release date of Twin Peaks. So that's one synchronicity.
But what does that mean? Nothing.
Well, it doesn't mean anything at all, but I just think that that's an interesting, fun synchronicity. Some of the other ones that are more, I guess, in the zeitgeist stuff that people are talking about are things like NASA firing their, I think it's 3 rockets. The fact that there's a devil comet, quote unquote, that's supposed to coincide with the eclipse. Game of Thrones style.
Scarlet Comet, whatever it was.
Well, yeah, speaking of the red comet in Game of Thrones. Yeah, well, that's the thing is archetypally, comets and eclipses represent times of great change or great shifts or whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that all these rumors are sort of swirling around this like event. And I'm jealous that it's happening in America because I want to see it, and I'm forced to only rely on like the live feed on YouTube and like fucking people in our Discord who were kind enough to share their images that they had taken.
I know we were listening to that Schizo podcast thingy on Spotify earlier that you were showing me, and this guy was talking about how like the solar, like the reason they're doing the CERN stuff and like all these other things
CERN's another one I forgot to mention.
Is because they want to see if there's like a difference in the ionic temperature or some fucking science shit that I'm like too stupid to understand within like the particle accelerators when the eclipse happens. And that there's all these other kind of like, weird kind of phenomenon, and he was talking about the last time the eclipse came around and he felt so strange, and like all of this kind of stuff, like just the lack of the sun is like such a strange thing, even if it is just for a few seconds and whatever.
Yeah.
And then I read there was this fucking trippy article, I think it was like in the 70s, where these guys in the Concorde chased the eclipse. So where you would normally get an eclipse for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, they managed to like get an eclipse for like almost 90 seconds or something like that.
Yeah,
because they were flying so fast in this Concorde at the same way. You just imagine some like high level magus in the Concorde doing some like really special ritual that he needs at least 90 seconds of eclipse, like fucking
in order to accomplish
ionized fucking air around him or whatever to achieve his like super ritual or something.
Well, who knows? Well, even then, there's been a lot of apocalyptic talk surrounding the eclipse, obviously, as well, because I think one of the things that was like kind of going around TikTok is like the path of the eclipse goes to this place called Rapture, in one of the southern states in America, and people have been like connecting the dots and like, saying it's a harbinger of the end of the world. But like I said, eclipses tend to, at least in a sort of metaphorical literary sense, represent shifts in consciousness and change. Like you represented Game of Thrones, it's the eclipse in Game of Thrones acts as like a catalyst.
If everyone started going crazy and seeing prophecies and killing each other.
The comet, in Game of Thrones acts as like a catalyst for the events in the story.
Yeah, exactly. For everyone to go crazy and start killing each other.
In 2001, A Space Odyssey, the monolith descends during a solar eclipse. We talked about 2001, A Space Odyssey with Danica when she was on the show. We're in a time where people seem to be, trying to, what's it called? Immunize the eschaton or whatever. Immunize the eschaton. Sorry, that's the one. And there's this sort of apocalyptic feeling in the air. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that like that's all sort of clustering around this eclipse event, but like I'm pretty sure it's over now and it's like come and gone.
I'm lost in a blaze of breakbeats and all sorts of other things to concern myself with such trivial matters like the apocalypse.
Well, let me know if any more apocalyptic earth-shattering events occur during this solar eclipse while we're doing the stream. I mean, there was an earthquake in New York a couple of days ago. The Statue of Liberty was struck by lightning, apparently. Now there's a solar eclipse. Like, I don't blame people for getting biblical with it. There's going to be a swarm of cicadas as well this year in America. There's like going to be the highest like swarm of cicadas that they're, it's like biblical.
I'll believe it when I see it. They were talking about some shit like that years ago, that there was going to be some sort of like plague of locusts basically that descends through Europe like after coming.
I think it happened and it like genuinely did like affect crops and stuff.
I think it's bullshit. I think it's just like more deep state lies.
Jake is not a locust truther.
I'm not. I don't believe in locusts. I don't think they exist.
Oh man, you're gonna be shocked when like there's no food in the grocery stores because the cicadas have like.
That's why they did COVID. To change all the batteries in the locusts, not the birds.
Oh my god. Well, anyway, moving on to the next topic of the long list of things that have been going on. The 4B movement has been sort of kicking around the zeitgeist again. Gender politics is something that we kind of circle around to.
Every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then on this show. So I thought since it's buzzing around, we might as well discuss what's going on. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the 4B movement is, we're going to pull up the Wikipedia page for you. And the 4B movement is basically a feminist movement in Korea. And it sort of arose as a response to like what they claim is like, the deep misogyny of Korean society. Mm-hmm. And the 4Bs are basically the 4 no's, which are no sex with men, no child rearing, no dating men, and no marriage with men. How prominent this movement is like hard to tell. Like, I don't know how much of it is like hype in the media.
According to Wikipedia, it's its exact membership remains uncertain, but it ranges between 5 to 50,000 participants.
That's such a giant like range, which is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's like so hard to tell how much of it is media hype
And South
and how much of it's
Korea's
an actual movement.
South Korea is pretty populated as well. It's like millions of people.
Yeah, yeah.
So like 5 to 50,000 people is sort of like a bit of a
minuscule number.
drop in the bucket, isn't it?
But even then, it's a sentiment that's kicking around, and it's one that seems to have also crossed over to the West, because now there's lots of people identifying themselves as 4B women.
First it was hikikomori, now it's 4B.
Yep, there are lots of women now on TikTok.
As much as I'm a weeb and I really enjoy a lot of Japanese stuff, there's some bad things that come from Asia, I guess, culturally.
Well, we're talking about Korea right now, not
Asia.
Japan.
Asia. I know it's not all the same, but I'm saying Asia.
Well, I guess the reason why there's that spread is because they're going through a lot of the same atomization issues, the same shifts in the economy, the same shifts in familial structure, the same declining birth rates, like all of the sort of material conditions that are causing all of this sort of resentment to bubble up in the realm of dating. It's kind of accelerated over there. So it doesn't surprise me that a movement like that would start there. What does surprise me is that people in the West, specifically women in the West, would identify as like 4B, unironically.
Well, not really. It's just like femcel, but just with rules.
Well, what do you think that it's women who have had a lot of sexual experience, and then they decide not to, they decide to withdraw because like the dating world is so bad? Or do you think it's women who don't have a lot of sexual experience and are deciding to sort of like remain that way?
Well, there was a Vice documentary with a guy who leads the protests against these ladies, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was sort of also talking to the ladies about why they go to the rallies and all this stuff. And it feels like a lot of them are like not virgins and stuff. They're people that are experienced romantically, but are like totally sick of the expectation and the way that like relationships play out in Korea.
Yeah.
And most men are probably unwilling to sort of renegotiate that relationship.
Yeah.
Some men are, and I think kind of that is what that guy was half kind of getting at, was sort of just like, you're making this really big stance, and that just completely will make you lonely and shit. Like, not everybody's like that. You should just talk to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, he was kind of doing it in a fairly antagonistic way, obviously, 'cause it's like a counter protest or whatever. But I don't know. So I think it's more like that. Like it's like they're trying to renegotiate the way that relationships are done, mostly in Korea.
It doesn't really even sound like a renegotiation, though. It sounds like a total nihilistic resignation.
But that's to get attention and to.
You think so?
Yeah,
because if you were to talk to the women, they would say no, that they are serious and that they're not trying to get attention. They're not trying to provoke a response from men. That they're perfectly happy and content as self-contained beings. That's the sort of philosophy driving it, and it's quite extreme. And that's the reason why I called the episode too horny for 4B or whatever.
Because that's you.
Yeah. I'm way too horny, I'm way too maternal to never have sex with men, to not bear a child, to take such an extreme stance. Like, obviously, like every other woman, I have my issues with like the way that I see patriarchal cultures and systems.
Is it a lesbian thing?
I don't know. That's the thing that
because it does say
it's not explicitly. It says no sex with men.
Exactly.
So it doesn't explicitly say you. I'm sure it probably leaves that open to it. But I'm sure the heterosexual women who identify as 4B,
I bet we find out that a 4B is actually like a type of scissor. Like, a grade of sharpness and length or whatever.
Oh my God.
It's just a big scissor fest.
Well, the reason why it's called B is because B means no or something in Korean. It's like a negating
thing.
Yeah,
that's what they're going to say, but we know now what it's all about.
Oh my God.
It's like the pencils. You get a 4B pencil. I bet it's the same for scissors.
You're being misogynistic right now.
And it's a big les off.
You're being super misogynistic right now.
I bet it is.
The 4B ladies would totally beat the shit out of you.
I'd like to see him try. Some little Korean ladies.
Oh
I'd like to see him try.
Oh my God.
They'll be like, like total battle simulator. You'd have to like keep spawning them in to see how many I could take down.
Oh my god. I don't want to imagine you like fighting a bunch of like little Korean ladies.
Depends how many at once. I think like one at a time I could get through a significant number, but like a many at once, it's just gonna be like a weight and numbers game, isn't it? It's not gonna.
Someone should fair. Make this. Once we can AI generate like games, that's one we should try to make happen. But anyway, as I was saying, it's extreme. It's not as much as I'm mad with patriarchy. There must be better ways to face it than swearing off male company and child rearing and stuff. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of hobbies. I mean, if that's like if you're a heterosexual woman, like you're like scissors. I don't know. I couldn't do it. I'm too horny, and it would make me neurotic. I think I would have to take up like, I don't know, crocheting or something to get rid of all of
They probably all play video games or something.
There has to be something that they're doing.
They're Korean, aren't they? So
that's not to say that your life as a woman is entirely centered around children and men, but it is like a part of the human experience. That's like a big part of the human experience. And yeah, the fact that people are identifying as 4B here just kind of shows how nihilistic the dating culture and discourse here has gotten. And again, it's really interesting that you interpreted it as a plea for attention, because that's how a lot of men are interpreting it as a plea for attention. Okay. Whereas if you ask the 4B women, they would say no, they're fucking serious.
That's very
they're
offensive.
Serious about it's offensive and they're serious.
Okay, well, all right.
Wow, Jake.
All right, love.
Wow, Jake. Jake's like, all right, love, pipe down. I can't believe it. You do deserve to be beaten up by a Korean feminist.
How many at once? That's right.
Oh my god. Jake's the one who's too horny for 4B.
What weapon do I get as well? Is this just like bare fists?
Oh my god. Gross. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. I feel I just think it's like so weird. I don't have any of this animosity towards the opposite sex. Do you?
No, but that's because we've been together for 10 years this year. So
true.
It's kind of we're sort of pretty isolated from how people feel about relationships,
which is why it's so puzzling.
Finding partners and all of that kind of stuff, because we've missed a decade of culture
of that.
So
do you think that what do you think you would be like if you were still in the dating pool?
Probably.
What would your strategy be if you were still in the dating pool?
Probably pretty lonely, to be honest. I probably wouldn't do too much that different.
I don't think that's true.
I wouldn't be going out on the pool. That has literally never been my style.
That's never been your style, but you still you did have a history before me. You like to pretend like you're this like meek guy or whatever. You had a history before me.
Okay. What do you mean?
So clearly you were out on the pool in some ways or another.
Out on the pool, just I'm a charming man. You know this.
Exactly.
I'm a charming man.
So you're saying
on the pool like, oh my god, I've got to find a fucking woman tonight to fucking dunk and bring back. Like, no.
Oh my god.
I never really had that kind of attitude about it. So
that's why I like you. You played the long game with charm. So that's how you would be if you were still in the dating pool.
Probably.
I would probably, I don't know. I think I'd probably be pretty bitter by now.
I'll go to the pool club and get really good at pool and just try and impress the ladies at the pool club.
That's your dating strategy.
Yeah.
What kind of ladies play pool?
I don't know. But we'll find out.
You'll find out.
I would imagine like gruff, kind of like working class women.
Is that your type?
Well, they probably like won't expect much of me. Do you know what I mean? So just like a guy they met at the pool table.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
So you get the expectations low, and then you can just go up from there.
I like hippie boys, so my strategy would be to go to like the nearest guitar shop and just like pretend like I don't know anything and get them to mansplain it to me. That's been my dating strategy for a long time, is just like pretending to be stupid and asking them to mansplain it to you. It works.
Wow.
It works. It gets annoying. You can't use it too much, but it definitely gets you in there for sure. But yeah, all of this like weird animosity surrounding You know, the opposite sex is obviously stoked by influencers, many of whom are identifying as like.
Well, they're doing a
4B.
piss poor job. I feel like there's more Andrew Tate fans in South Korea than there probably is 4B movement people.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Just on sheer numbers.
But feminism has never necessarily been a popular position ever.
Even with other
Even
women?
especially radical feminism. Radical feminism has been even less popular.
All the
than
other girlies in South Korea just like throwing them the side eye, just like fine, more men for us.
More dick for me.
I'm happy with that. I get me 2 boyfriends.
Oh my god, I don't know. I feel like it's feminism in general is not very popular among men or women, and radical feminism is even more fringe and, you know, outside of social norms. So it's not likely that it's going to necessarily like take major foothold. But the fact that, like, you know, it's a topic of discourse in the West and you have people identifying as it, influencers identifying as it, and it's sort of a way of people signaling their frustrations and alienations. It's like pretty sad. But yeah, I think I guess maybe to an extent, I'm on your side to the extent where I don't take it seriously. And I do think it is a plea for attention because I don't think anyone could really, I mean, it would be really difficult to forego all of that and, like, you know, live a full life.
You must just live full of like, like all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how you sustain that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they do.
Or a life of just self-pleasuring, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Of just dildos and...
I mean, they got a lot of that in Asia, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. They have a lot.
They got a lot of that.
They got a lot of that. But I mean, it's just kind of, it just seems sad to me. I don't know. It's weird. But it kind of ties into the next topic, which is this guy that you listen... Do you listen to him?
Who?
Andrew fucking... What's his face?
Who?
The next guy we're talking about.
Who, Andrew Tate?
No, not Andrew Tate.
I don't listen to Andrew Tate.
No, not Andrew Tate. You don't have a Bugatti.
I don't.
What's his name? Andrew Huberman or whatever, the one that with 6 girlfriends.
Oh, Andrew Huberman.
Andrew Huberman.
No, I
that's
don't.
The one.
I don't listen to Andrew Huberman.
How did you know about this drama then?
Because there's other people that I know that listen to Andrew Huberman, and then it like just erupted on all of the reaction YouTube fucking people.
So tell us the tea, because this is a male influencer that I've heard of.
Well,
he was kicking around in the male spaces, but that I don't know much about.
He's like a neuroscientist at
Right.
Stanford, and then he sort of started doing a podcast talking to people about how they can do different things and habits to sort of improve their life, basically.
So like a self-optimization guru type of thing.
Yeah, but it's all like backed by like actual like neuroscience and stuff like that. So it's quite cool, and a lot of people were into it and thought that he was pretty cool. But then it turns out that he's quite a womanizing man and had many ladies on the go at once.
Wow.
And people are fairly torn as to whether to be upset about it or not.
Can we see what he looks like?
I can get up a
I
picture.
haven't seen what he looks like.
You've got the keyboard closest to you, so you got to type it in there.
You do it here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
So he's a good-looking guy.
He's good breeding stock.
Well, I think he thinks so too, which is why he's got like 6 bitches on the go.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing
He's
that
doing some Elon Musk type shit.
the thing that like, you know, that I sort of like thought about when you told me this story is the fact that he's a self-optimization guru. And I guess he figured his life was so optimized that he could manage 6 girlfriends.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It really does depend on the sort of depth of relationship you're going to have with someone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't manage 6 full, proper girlfriends.
No, definitely not.
Right?
You couldn't give them even if you had a lot of money and a lot of time.
You can't have more than 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, in a day, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, how would you have 6 proper girlfriends that you spend, like, you live with, that you, like, that would be some harem type shit, which I don't think was quite the case with this one. But he did have many girls on the go at once, and then they all kind of found out about each other, and then exes found out about how many other people they was all seeing at the same time, and a lot of the ladies were very upset about it.
He's optimized.
A lot of the fellas, that was basically their reaction, was just like, "This pretty based. Look at how well he's optimized.
Oh my god.
His game.
Oh my god.
He's managed to get 6 pretty good bitches on the go at once, and they only rocked up the apple cart because they kind of found out about each other."
Oh my god. Well, this is exactly why the 4B movement is
It's
is
against
raging.
people like Andrew Huberman.
It's raging because it's this like horrible, like disgusting tug of war between the sexes, and all of these like caustic influencers on both sides. Like, even because I remember you talking about this guy before, and you didn't talk about him in glowing terms, but you didn't. You were
I
like,
don't listen to him. I don't know.
but
his
you were
fucking
like, you were like,
advice.
oh, he seems cool or whatever. And I was like, dude, he looks like he looks like a fucking he's got like dark triad energy, number one.
He's a bloke giving advice to men that wasn't get a Bugatti and get fucking
Yeah, I know, but I also
get bitches on webcam and fucking take their money. Like that wasn't what he was doing.
Of course, but
so
I
I thought
also
that was
think,
like positive. Do you know what I mean? That he
I
was doing the
guess.
positive thing.
But I guess I also think it's kind of sad at the same time that like these sorts of internet gurus are like filling the space of, I guess, masculine camaraderie for men these days, and that they are like sort of modeling themselves after these, internet guru types. So when, they inevitably don't live up to the shiny image that they're portraying and some skeleton comes out of their closet, it sort of causes them to question everything. It's really, really strange.
I don't think a lot of the dudes did. I think a lot of ladies were upset, but I think a lot of dudes weren't that very upset about it.
Well,
yeah.
I guess it's because it's like the idea of like ethical, clean living and, being optimized and being a family man as well. That's like a thing that a lot of these influencers try to put forward.
Well, he's certainly not that. And you could not be with 6 people.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like, how is what's it, that black fella?
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon.
Yeah.
How's he faring with all of that?
With his like 10 baby mamas.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, he's somebody who's attracted a lot of criticism, especially because in the Black community, broken homes are like a major problem. And the fact that he's sort of touting this harem lifestyle as like viable and woke as well is pretty abhorrent, if you ask me.
It's pretty crazy.
And I think that there is something to, if you are going to look up to a male figure, I think looking at their relationships with women is important, I think. Like, I think a man being able to sustain a stable relationship with a woman over a long period of time
Well, it's like
shows something about his character.
It's like optimized for what?
What do you mean?
I'm super optimized. Optimized for what? Optimized for fucking many bitches. Okay. So it's not like I'm optimized to be a family man. I'm optimized to fuck many bitches. Like,
yeah, he's.
So it depends on what your goals are in life.
Yeah, it depends on what your
Like,
goals are in life. But I mean,
because he's like in his mid-40s or something.
Sure,
you know. So he should be kind of like trying to find probably a wife.
But
or
that's what
something
I'm
at that
saying.
age, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like
He
the whole
shouldn't be trying to be optimized for bitches. He should be trying to be optimized
But
for
that's what I'm
a
saying.
wife.
With like Leonardo DiCaprio, for instance, part of the reason why, or George Clooney, part of the reason why a lot of these men fall under scrutiny once they get to a certain age and they're not seen to have had a stable relationship is because it says something about their thoughts about women, how they treat women. You know, all of those different elements are kind of portrayed in how a man's relationships with women have played out. And I do kind of give a guy the side eye if he's in his fucking 40s and he's like not had a stable relationship or a long-term relationship.
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Everyone goes through different things in life, and you can't hold everyone to the same judgment.
I'm a lot more judgy. I'm a lot more judgy than you. I'm far more judgy than you. But I think that especially if it's somebody who you're looking up to as a guru or a leader, and it's a man, looking at their relationships is definitely, I think, something that's good to do. You don't need, there are lots of ways to combat patriarchy and to, push female empowerment that don't involve like swearing off men and sex. There are ways that you can kind of look out for men that are good and men that are not so good. And I think looking at their relationships with women is one way of doing that.
You're saying that Korean ladies have got to learn how to make their men work for the pussy.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And how to use the pussy.
Pretty much. And also
want.
look at his relationships with other women. Look at his relationship with his mom, with his sisters, with his exes. Look at how he talks about his exes. If you're looking for male role models and you're somebody who's family minded, make sure that the male role models you're looking up to are men who have been in long-term stable situations and that have had decent relationships with women. It
depends what you want, isn't it? If you're trying to be like the leader of a new religion or something, you're trying to base yourself on Tom Cruise, you're gonna like base yourself and optimize yourself in a different way than someone that's like, oh, you know, I want a cottage in the countryside and I want to have like a cow or something and have like a fucking Stardew Valley life. There's different ways you can optimize yourself. And I think he never mentioned how he was optimizing these young men.
Even this term,
and then it turns out he was optimizing them to get many bitches.
Oh my god! Even this term optimization is kind of psychotic, and it kind of ties into the whole kind of materialistic, mechanistic, AI generated consciousness that like is being pushed on everyone right now, in the sense that thinking about reality that way,
well, it's just sort of like results driven. It's sort of results driven things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like as a neuroscientist, you're the person that knows exactly like what the brain responds to and does all of that stuff.
But when it comes to things like love and more subjective areas of life, you can't apply that logic to it. And the fact that he's applying optimization logic to dating is psychotic. It's the same thing with like, you know, the femcell kind
to
of
feed a hunger for bitches. Right? I think you're
like, I don't think you understand.
Yeah, you're still there. You're
You're
still there, sort of like, oh, I can't understand how he does this. Sort of like, because he has a thirst for bitches.
Oh my
right?
god!
And one bitch is not enough, so he needs six
a harem
of them.
Of bitches.
So he needs 6 of them to satiate his thirst.
His thirst for bitches.
And you know, he's learned how to optimize himself to be able to satiate that thirst.
Anyway,
I don't see the problem.
On the feminist side of the equation with like the 4B women, they base their...
You should go and chat to them.
Shush.
You should tell them how to optimize their life
no,
so they can get 6 dicks and then they would be less grumpy about everything.
They apply this... Shush you. They apply this logic by, you know, looking at things like domestic violence statistics, by looking at things like sexual assault statistics, divorce statistics, and they're sort of looking at reality in a similar kind of data-driven, mechanistic fashion, and viewing men in that way as well, to the point that they want to swear off basically a major part of the human experience.
Yeah, if you looked at statistics, you would do a lot of like crazy things that seem like irrational and stuff, right?
But that's the thing is, I feel like because of social media and influencers and like people constantly quoting statistics, people are really starting to view reality in this sort of game theory, fucking analytical, statistical model way. And it's frightening, it's terrifying, it's making people make cold, sociopathic kind of judgments about reality.
Yeah, because the game theory every time suggests basically that someone is going to do the thing for the least amount of pain to themselves.
Yeah. And it's also...
It's out of the choice of like being ironic and shitpostery and keeping distance and leaving first. Or whatever, ghosting. Whatever the mechanism is to retain your feeling like you're not the one that's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Versus opening yourself up and trying to make a connection.
If
you both open up and try to make connection, there will be this magical thing that could happen. Maybe you don't like each other once you've opened up, and that could be an option as well, and that's a bad thing. And neither of you wants that. You're both afraid of that. But both of you, if you act defensive and shitlordy, come away feeling like you've not been vulnerable and that you're not hurt anyway. So everybody has the default kind of position to act like a shithead, basically.
Pretty much. And it's sad because a lot of this mentality is being driven by people who work in tech and science.
Yeah.
People whose job requires them to see reality in this sort of data-driven fashion, and they're sort of applying that logic to every other area of life.
Well, game theory
and creating this really disgusting and toxic culture, from mental health to the way people view mental health, to the way people view relationships. All of this stuff is this sort of self-optimization culture that's like sort of built on the back of like analyzing yourself like you're a D&D character. Well, it's like really weird.
Game theory, I assume, has been talked about a little bit on YouTube recently. There's a British economist guy who's now a content creator on YouTube who recently did a video about game theory and why economists rely on it and to predict all these things. And it's basically the classic example that's set up is that two people are being interrogated, and if they grasp on each other, they'll get a reduced sentence.
Mm-hmm.
If neither of them grasp on each other, neither of them will go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them goes, or they'll get 1 year or something like that. If one of them grasps on the other one will get 10 years, the other one will get 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
If both of them grasp on each other, they both get 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, people are always going to choose to not grasp on each other, or to grasp on each other, because they think that that's going to be the path of least resistance, basically, to them, the most defensive position that they could take.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole kind of argument against it was basically like, oh, they don't explore that, you know, people would trust each other if they know each other or whatever. They would trust each other, and then they wouldn't choose always to rat each other out. They would choose to hold together and get out with 1 year or whatever. But when you're looking at the macro and people that don't know each other and exactly what you're talking about, building relationships and doing all this stuff and the way that people see it, it's kind of really crushingly fucking true.
Yeah.
And people do always actually pick that defensive position now.
Yeah.
Especially now more than ever. Maybe that wasn't always the case in time periods past, but like in the 21st century now, definitely everybody has this incredibly defensive automatic position.
Big time. Big time. And people use this mentality when it comes to how they interact with the opposite gender. People use it with race as well. On like social media is always full of people posting based FBI statistics, quote unquote, and
Red Guard crime statistics. People fighting in the Waffle House or whatever the fuck. That was one thing I did see that came around that related to Waffle House. Now you brought it up, that I thought was pretty hilarious.
Oh my god!
Was that you know Tekken?
No. What, the video game?
Yeah, the fighting game. Yeah. A new Tekken has come out recently.
Yeah.
And all of like people on Twitter are basically asking them to include a Waffle House as like the backdrop, as like one of the places you can fight.
Amazing.
And then the Japanese guy that like makes Tekken basically like replied and was like, okay, I have done some research and I think I understand what a Waffle House is now.
Oh
he's like
so
literally
cute.
was like had no fucking idea or anything. It's just
heart.
But it seems like people fight there for some reason. Like, I don't understand.
He needs to take a trip to World Star Hip Hop.
We will think about it or something like that. It's just like, oh, amazing. If they did like a fucking Waffle House level, that would just be
the best thing ever.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
But yeah,
that's what you could get me if you want to get me a present. You could get me Tekken 8.
Oh my god, you heard it from the man himself. Well, yeah, even then, yeah, I mean, race is also affected by this weird data-driven, metrics-driven thing.
Well, we talk about Red Guard crime statistics. If you took the same 4B movement mentality as you would after you read the Red Guard crime statistics, you'd never go near Red Guards again.
Well, there are people who do take on that mentality.
Right?
There are people who do take on that mentality, and people who do approach reality based upon that kind of mentality. And it's becoming more and more normal, obviously, because of social media and the sort of discourse echo chamber dialectic that we're trapped in on social media. People are more likely to see the world in that way because it makes for a sexy talking point, and like people mostly have headline intelligence these days anyway. Like the headline is what appeals to them. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And
Headline intelligence. I feel like that is definitely like a punk rock song or something.
it should be if it isn't. I'm offering it up.
Like a cold wave song. I can hear it. Headline intelligence.
We should make it.
I can hear it already in my head.
We should make it. But yeah, that also ties into our next topic, which is not so happy, not so fun. Euthanasia. There have been a few prominent cases that have happened this week and last week of young, primarily women who have, perfectly healthy bodies, but struggle from various mental health conditions. And,
Do you want me to play the clip?
Yeah, play the clip. Hang
on. Bob.
Pretty sad stuff. But it kind of ties into what we were talking about when it comes to this whole mechanized way of thinking about things. But yeah, here.
Our next story is from the Netherlands, the story of a 28-year-old woman called Zoraya Terbeek. She has chosen euthanasia, the act of dying with medical help. Of course, it's not new. So why is this case grabbing headlines? It's because Zoraya Terbeek has decided to end her life due to crippling mental health problems. She suffers from depression, autism, and borderline personality disorder. She has sought help for it all her life, she says, but now she thinks there is nothing more that can be done. So she has chosen legal euthanasia. Her choice has sparked a lot of debate. Critics say it would encourage more people to kill themselves legally. I must warn you, this story could be triggering, so viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, we should have probably said that before I played that bit. But yeah, that's what you get with the pro Indian broadcaster versus fucking stoner in his bedroom.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty dark stuff. I mean, it really bummed me out this week when I saw these stories. And yeah, again, it's a manifestation of this like same logic. I mean, I can't imagine being a therapist and or any sort of health provider or practitioner and telling somebody with a mental health issue that their mental state is totally and utterly irredeemable and that suicide is an option for them. And I think it's pretty fucking depressing that that's where we've gotten to as a society.
Well, back when I was a wee lad, back when I was a student hobbit, back in Hobbiton, I was doing philosophy and ethics, and a big chunk of the ethics year, I only did the first year of A-levels because then I quit to go and be a fucking rock star, didn't I? But in that year of ethics, we did euthanasia. It was like half the year, and it was pretty extensive the way we sort of talked about it, and I think it was a really good way to sort of actually introduce you to the idea of ethics and that kind of thing. And I understand what the lady what you're saying as well, is that you should never be recommended that by a psychiatrist or something like that. And maybe that was the situation. I don't know what the whole situation is, but the kind of argument for euthanasia is around pain, and so I guess it's around what you deem as irredeemable pain that you would want escape from, and if you think that can only exist physically, or if that can exist mentally, and if that can exist mentally, then why wouldn't that have the same sort of framework as the physical pain as well? And in that case, why wouldn't it be okay for someone to choose that? It shouldn't be recommended, it shouldn't be pushed on someone, but if someone wants to do that, it saves then some horrible mess or some sort of damage to the self because you've done it incorrectly or whatever else, right? And then you've got some other kind of horrible life to live because you've got and then maybe you actually do qualify for it because you're in physical pain.
My problem is I don't think it should be the state or any corporation or any sort of entity's job to help you end your life, or to recommend that you should do so.
It depends. If she's in America, she just buy a gun.
Yeah, sure, but that's
Most
even
people don't.
yeah.
Most people don't live in a place where they can just go and buy a gun.
a gun. Yeah, sure.
And so most
but
people, the idea of that becomes an incredibly gruesome, horrible thing that is gonna be someone else's mess to clean up, even if you have a gun. But like, at least it's totally fucking painless and kind of risk free in a lot of ways. Versus like trying to overdose, versus trying to, all the horrible ways that it would go around.
But we live in a culture and also an economic situation where, resources to manage mental illness are very difficult to come by if you're not somebody who already has a lot of resources at their disposal. And telling people that death is an option is awful. Like, I'm somebody who's struggled with anxiety and depression and OCD pretty much my whole life. And it is painful. It's something that I have to battle with on a daily basis. It's something that sometimes flares up and can be debilitating at times. But I would be absolutely horrified. And I also know that there may not be any cure for it. It's something that I may have to struggle with for the rest of my life. And it's something that I'm going to have to learn to manage. But I would be horrified if a medical professional told me that that suicide was an option, that my situation, my predicament was so hopeless, and that there weren't tools for me to manage it. And that even if I was managing it, I would still be living my life, quote unquote, suffering. Therefore, death is an option. And especially like, in the current climate we're in, and all of those, with the skyrocketing rates of homelessness, with the economy pretty much buckling under, it's only a matter of time before they start saying kill yourself to save the NHS. I showed you a tweet a few hours ago where there was I think it was an NHS board member who was encouraging people to not save as many lives because there's too much strain on the health system. So there are these there's a Malthusian character to this. And the more we normalize this idea of who deserves to be alive and who doesn't deserve to be alive, the more like Malthusian it gets, in my opinion.
It's all just feigned lack, right? It's all just like, oh, we can't fund stuff enough, we can't do this enough. It's all just a fucking choice, man.
But there are so many things in society that are kind of pushing a Malthusian agenda, especially in the UK. Like, even housing is weaponized.
So they don't put taxes on people gambling on fucking stocks and shit, and they don't take the money they need to from the fucking rich, and they don't make the fucking royal family take their money out of fucking Panama, and they don't fucking do all that that they could fucking do to get all the fucking tax money they need to make the fucking public services that everybody wants and fucking deserves and pays for all fucking ready through their fucking taxes, but don't fucking receive. So it's just a fucking choice. It's just a political choice.
Yeah, it's a political choice to basically implement these Malthusian practices. And I mean, in the UK, the reason I bring up the UK is because these Malthusian policies have been such a feature of this country, from the workhouse institution all the way to the modern welfare state. Even things like housing were weaponized to basically foster things like disease and social decay so that poor people would die off. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's an accident now that things like medically assisted suicide, are being offered to people who are mentally ill, who are homeless. There is something very Malthusian about it.
Absolutely. It should never be offered. I don't think that it should be offered. It should be something that someone can seek, and through a number of checks of will and consent then follow through with. But I don't think it's something that should ever be recommended or encouraged by anyone's job it is to provide someone with the tools to be able to cope with those things. I
only think that it should be available for extreme circumstances like severe physical illness that's terminal. I don't think that people with mental health issues should be offered euthanasia.
I think the debate with that is it never really happened, as far as I'm concerned. It just sort of was made into law. Mm-hmm. It feels like with a lot Brexit, you name any kind of big thing, I would see the way you treat human life and laws around that and how it can end as quite substantial.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a change to abortion laws or something like that, that would certainly be vigorously debated on like public, broadcast and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yet this didn't really get any kind of debate or conversation about it. It was just sort of straight to, well, this is obviously what we're doing.
Which is why it's suspicious to me. It seems like some sort of Malthusian agenda being pushed through. There wasn't a huge debate surrounding it. There wasn't any sort of voting or referendum or even major societal conversation. It was just something that was rolled out that we're expected to watch news stories about physically healthy 23-year-olds choosing to commit suicide. It's just fucking demoralizing.
I don't know
and
if a
awful.
referendum would be needed. I feel like just a public debate about something, you get the temperature of people.
But we didn't even get that.
And how they react to a topic and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even necessary, because I think the idea of a referendum has a lot of like trauma in this country now. So like, it's definitely not that like big things like that. Oh yeah, you definitely would need it to go out to everybody in like a referendum style. But there definitely should have been some sort of conversation about it. And I feel like in a different time, that definitely would have happened.
Well, we don't. We exist in the time where the eschaton is being accelerated or whatever,
or journalists,
and all
would be
these
kind
like
of,
crazy Malthusian agendas are being put through.
even like what you showed me was some like Indian news fucking thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why that isn't being talked about in more European press and.
It is,
stuff like that.
but it's surprisingly like not as big a story as it should be. And I guess it's because, it's still sort of in its experimental phase. There aren't as many sort of numbers. Right now, it's sort of just the media honing in on the few cases that are sensational in that sense right now. But the fact that it is...
Where is it as well?
Canada,
Right.
the Netherlands, so many different places now are sort of like embracing...
In like Sweden.
I don't think Sweden. I think maybe we would have to check the list of.
Can't be anywhere in the Nordics. Let's
you should
be honest.
check the list if you want to check the
Viking
list.
bones will not
Check
allow
the list
them.
if you want to check the list.
They're not going to get into Valhalla if they do that, Angie. They won't
It's a dishonorable death.
They literally won't allow themselves to do it.
Valhalla does not await you if you choose this option.
It doesn't.
But again, it's like, I don't know. I guess because I'm also a spiritual person as well. It's sort of like. This sort of approach to human life gives me the heebie-jeebies, I guess, because...
Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and more recently Germany and Spain. So yeah, no Nordics. Told you. They would not do that.
Valhalla would not accept them with open arms if they decided to offer themselves.
It's just against their Viking bones, dude. They won't allow it.
But even then, it's just kind of it's kind of worrying, and I don't know how much more it's gonna take off / how much more common it's gonna get. I really hope it doesn't. Part of me also
Catholic in Spain.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
I'm kind of surprised.
Surprised about that actually.
You'd think like sacredness of life.
Yeah.
Works the other end.
The other
of
end
it
of
as
the
well.
yeah.
But
it's so strange.
I don't know what their like abortion laws are either. So maybe they don't give a shit either way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want my worst fear is it coming here because there are such high rates of despair in the UK, and also really high rates of poverty in the UK as well. And we also have a notoriously Malthusian establishment that has weaponized everything from housing to welfare against poor people. So, and also medicine. So I don't doubt that if medicalized euthanasia came to the UK, that would also be weaponized against the poor in a pretty draconian fashion. And yeah, that's my major fear, really. And in America, especially with the fentanyl crisis going on, like, I don't know. And part of me also thinks that why they put these news stories out is to demoralize us. Because there is a mental health crisis going on right now, like an unprecedented mental health crisis. And seeing stories like this, I don't mean to sound like soft or whatever, but it is kind of triggering for people.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's demoralizing if you're someone who struggles with mental illness as well, like, It's
interesting, the whole mental health crisis thing. I don't know if, like, because I watched a thing the other day that was talking about the potentiality of that being a bit of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean?
Of like everybody talking about mental health in the kind of non-meaningful, bullshitty kind of way.
Yeah.
And constantly talking about there being this a big anomalous mental health crisis actually kind of puts people in the state of mind that they should be depressed, and that actually causes the mental health crisis.
I don't
and
think
so
that,
it's like a self-fulfilling kind
yeah,
of like
I don't
cycle,
think that that's like a
basically.
non-negligible part of it. I think that that's definitely part. The social contagion is probably a component of it, but I feel like the way society and culture is currently structured kind of induces things like anxiety, things like depression, things like nervous system disruption. All of those different elements are part and parcel of just being alive now. So I think it's twofold in that sense. I don't think it's just people like giving themselves Munchausen syndrome. I think there are some people who do that, but I think that I think there genuinely is a mental health crisis going on. Like, look around. And I think that demoralizing people who are going through mental health struggles, telling them that they have no hope, that there aren't coping mechanisms, and that suicide is an option, is just so cruel and so fucked up. And even seeing stories like that, if you're someone who struggles with mental illness, it makes you think, well, what, should I just fucking give up? Like, is there any point? Am I just going to be in pain for the rest of my life? Is there no way? Should I lose hope in the tools that I'm using to manage my current predicament? You know, I mean, as much as, you know, we're secular, blah, 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 at least during the time where, you know, there were religious institutions, there was more of a religious influence within our institutions, hope and the sanctity of human life was still, even if it was hokey or sometimes disingenuous, at least it was somewhat present in the ethos that, you know, these institutions approach the public with. But now that that's gone, you're seeing this cold, calculating, mechanistic logic emerge that's totally devoid of any sort of higher principle. And it's not just infecting the way that we relate to each other as people, as men, as women. It's also impacting the way that institutions are relating to us. And that's fucking frightening. That's terrifying. That the mental health institution, the institution that has so many people's psyches in their hands, people who rely and trust them, you know, the medical institution that we all rely on to help us when we're in need of healing, would recommend that we end our lives.
Well, it's the same one that like recommended all those children do bad things to their genitals and stuff, isn't it? And,
yeah,
like,
true. That's another big, another big medical scandal in our 20s. And it's all part and parcel of this same cold, mechanized logic with that's not guided by any higher principle. And that's the way the ontology of science is behaving right now. It's the same thing we talked to Formscapes about when he was on a couple of weeks ago. The sort of ontological framework of the sort of secular scientific paradigm is behaving in a really messed up way. And you have young people fucking killing themselves or cutting off their fucking dicks and breasts. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you know,
it's a sick, sad world.
I hate to sound like a fucking crazy person, but like, even it kind of reminds it. I think everyone needs to reread Mary Shelley's fucking Frankenstein, because that's all about science that's not guided by any sort of higher principle, creating something monstrous. And even, you know, some of the horrors of the 20th century were driven by this sort of same mechanistic ethos that only seems to have gotten worse in our current times. And on top of that, which brings us into our last subject for the evening, war. And sorry we're not as funny or jovial today. It's hard to be because things are so crazy right now. And there's so much craziness going on. But yeah, the last topic of the evening is war. What is it good for? That same mechanized logic in the wars of the 20th century, you know, was explored in a lot of the art movements that like embrace surrealism as like an antidote to that mechanistic knowledge, that mechanistic logic. They saw that mechanistic logic as having, created weapons of war and destruction, and they wanted to get in touch with the unconscious, with like the subterranean, which is why I'm really fascinated by the surrealists of that period, because right now that mechanistic logic has gotten even more crazy, and we're entering another period of war, and artificial intelligence is playing a major role in what's going on right now, especially in Israel and Gaza. A lot of AI technologies have been tested on the Palestinians in terms of surveillance, drones, all sorts of things. And that's something that should worry everybody, because what makes you think they won't do the same thing to you? And so, yeah, it's fucking terrifying how that same mechanistic logic and those same weapons of war have become 10 times more powerful currently. And yeah, things are heating up. Israel,
I feel like last episode I was saying things are simmering
yeah,
down.
you did. I told you that it wasn't. And then you said things were simmering down. I think the day after was when Israel bombed the Iranian embassy. And that obviously has now,
So is
rev things up.
Is Iran at war with them now then?
Well, it looks like that might happen. That
I'm
could
like
happen.
so out of the loop, mate. I've been in
That could very well happen.
I've been in jungle mode. I've been in junglist
The
mode.
United States has kind of, as of when I read the news this morning anyway, America has kind of like, backed off a little bit. And they're like, whoa, we didn't tell you to do that, Israel. Hey, Iran, we don't want war with you. And I think that Iran and the U.S. have come to an agreement that Iran's not going to attack the U.S., but I think Iran definitely is going to retaliate. So we have that to look forward to.
Definitely maybe going to retaliate.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not like a fucking expert on war or whatever, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't some sort of escalation to the conflict because of this. And it's just been escalating and escalating.
Well, that's good.
Which is and obviously the eclipse is today is like another bad omen. Jesus Christ. But yeah, it
could be a good omen.
Maybe.
You don't know it's a bad omen.
Maybe.
That's like a glass half empty, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's a good omen.
It's a great omen.
Maybe who knows. But obviously the death toll in Palestine has been absolutely horrifying and like devastating. And the reason that has been so quick and efficient is because of these new mechanistic weapons of war, and the way that
the Mossad don't fuck around, bro.
The way that the Israeli military is behaving as well is incredibly mechanistic, and there's no desire for a ceasefire. It's just like plow straight through.
Hopefully it'll be over quicker than the Russia fucking Ukraine war. Won't like drag out.
I don't think that that's the case. I think this is going to be a catalyst for a lot of larger conflicts that are going to start springing up. I think in all likelihood, America for now is going to continue funding Israel in the same way that they're funding Ukraine.
I mean, my estimations of the KGB have gone down. I did like all of fucking Putin's bullshit, like, oh yes, the CIA and KGB, like me, we are enemies. We are, that's the other team. I like that, like, spies against each other vibe. That's fun, but clearly the KGB fucking suck, bro, because the Zelensky is still going. How many? It's 2 years now, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years now. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
How? How, Putin? Get it over with, bro. Just fucking finish it, man. This is crazy. It's just going on and on.
Yeah, well, I think that this is gonna escalate even more, and it's even more terrifying. And if that the horrors of the 20th century triggered surrealism in that sort of in the wake of it, I wonder what will come after this period in that sense, because I'm sure it's going to be even more terrifying.
Maybe like Putin's like hacked the system. Maybe it's just, he's not stupid. Like I'm saying, maybe the KGB is really dope, but because everyone was saying that they get all the sanctions, everything, Russia's gonna lose all that money. They're gonna like be in the shit. But then they made more money and they've been more profitable than ever. Like, it's like kind of like what half of the other side of the media say, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, have they found a fucking hack where they can like just go to war and make infinite money and now like just do that forever
to the moon forever?
Because now they can. It's just
maybe.
Is that the plan? Because that sucks. Because forever wars are bullshit. It's been forever wars like for nearly
for our entire
life.
lives as fucking millennial children.
So it would be nice to like have because everyone's it's been the time of peace, unprecedented time of peace since the Cold War ended with the Iron Curtain falling and Berlin Wall going down, all that bullshit in the 90s. But I don't really buy that, mate. If I'm honest, I don't really buy that.
No,
they weren't searching your butts like that in the 90s, bro. They weren't. I've heard it from people, so like I don't,
It was easier to smuggle.
It was easier to live
around
life, bro.
and stuff.
It's easier to live life. There wasn't this like over corporatized kind of bullshitty vibe about everything.
Should we check on the chat? Let's have a look at the chat. We've been ignoring the chat all stream. Sorry, guys.
A crazy number of major worldwide elections this year too, with the coincidences for the eclipse, I guess that was.
Yeah, I've been mentioning that a few times on previous episodes. There's like a crazy number of elections this year.
J. George said, as Lynch once said, he's really connected to the moon, a real girl's girl.
Very much a real girl's girl. He's such an Aquarius. He's not like other girls. He's like me.
I do have to wonder if George R.R. Martin has read/seen Berserk. I haven't read/seen Berserk.
I haven't.
Bro.
Everyone keeps recommending Berserk
I feel
to
like
me, though.
I tried to watch Berserk when I was really like properly watching anime, and I couldn't get into it, and that kind of surprised me. So I have kind of given up trying to do it ever since. But
it looks cool. Like I've seen some of the art and some scenes from the anime. Like there's this one where this like vampire lady was like rising up or something. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was like this tall giant lady with like big boobs and like these demons. And it looked
Sounds
really,
pretty Japanese,
it looked really cool. And I was like, I vibe with this. But with it, like many animes, they look cool, but then I watch them and they're either like really like weird and have all these like annoying anime tropes, or they're like really perverted, or they drag on. So we can give it a try, but I can't guarantee that I'll like it.
Oh, I would definitely give it a try after fucking what's it called?
What are we watching at the moment?
Susu no Freiren.
Oh yeah, that's what Jake is making me watch right now.
The anime. Sorry, this is what I really wanted to talk about this episode. The anime that dethroned fucking Full Metal Alchemist after like 15 years, I think, of being on the top spot of the biggest weeb website list of animes of all time, my anime list. So I couldn't resist, and I have to watch that. So I'm giving that a go, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far.
It's actually really cute. It's actually quite sweet. I'm enjoying it.
Gorgeously animated and drawn as well. Really nice. Really wonderful. The fact that South Korea has the lowest birth rates in the world makes this really scary, like a doomsday cult. I
don't know. It is a doomsday cult. It definitely is. And the thing is, South Korea is also known for cults. There's a lot of cult shit going on in South Korea, from their president having been part of some weird cult and getting deposed for it, to the Mooney cult. There are all sorts of like weird cults. And I mean, the 4B movement does sort of have the flavor of a cult in a way. Even
like North Korea is just like one big cult, isn't it? Basically, so
pretty much North Korea is one big old cult, complete with its own cosmology. Very bizarre cosmology.
I need a Park Chan-wook movie about a group of murderous 4B girls, but one of them falls in love with a guy and then they try to kill each other.
That would be so cool. I would be so down for that. We should AI generate it.
I'm not much. Cool. I'm not much for male influencers. I'm gay, lol. But Jordan Peterson's benzo drama hit me and a lot of other people hard. He legit helped me figure out how to weather a lot of BS.
That's sweet. I'm happy for you.
It hit you hard, like you were upset by the fact that he had like a spoonful of cider and had to go to Russia? Or was this like a different one? Is this
oh my god, you're so edgy. Good for you.
Was this a different one?
No, he had
he was like he had a benzo problem.
His wife had cancer. You're being insensitive.
Okay.
And his wife had cancer, and then he like got addicted to pills because he was like he couldn't cope, and then he had to go to Russia or something. I don't know. He went to treatment.
That wasn't the story I heard. I heard he had like a fucking half a pint of cider and he couldn't handle it.
That was on Joe Rogan, but he is quite.
Yeah, he said that on Joe Rogan. I'm not imagining that.
He said that on
Joe Rogan. There we go.
Rogan,
It's not about anything with benzos. He couldn't handle a fucking cider and he got sent to Russia.
No, those are two different. Are two.
I'm muddling it up. Either way,
You're muddling it up.
I don't have Peterson in high estimation.
Oh my god,
he's a bit of a fucking bellend. Headline intelligence sounds like a gang of four or a pop group song or public image limited song. As someone that studied CS and know a thing or two about game theory, AI and tech, all I can say is the pendulum always swings on Earth. Okay.
Elaborate.
Okay.
Would you like to elaborate on that mysterious stranger?
As someone who's dealt with suicidal thoughts since my teens, this is truly depressing. This is This is what too late stage capitalism looks like.
Yep. Yep. It's incredibly Malthusian and disturbing.
In Switzerland, Jean-Luc Godard chose euthanasia at 92 simply because he was tired. Tina Turner. I mean, fair enough.
But he's like an artist. He's like an artsy fartsy like fucking misanthrope.
And you can.
And if you're an artsy fartsy misanthrope and you want to have a dramatic send off at 92, then so be it.
You can be a fucking baller and be like, oh, I was tired, but he's also 92, so there's a good chance he could have been also in like quite a lot of constant pain at that time. So like, you never fucking know what the answer is. It could have just been the whole like, yeah.
Remember that episode?
Don't let people know I'm a pussy.
Remember that episode?
To the end.
Remember that episode of Atlanta where there was the medically assisted euthanasia happening in this like weird like cult thing that she happened. I think it was what's her name, Zazie Beetz' character.
Yeah,
she had randomly stumbled upon them, and it was the most surreal, weird, impersonal, like liberal death cult. And like that's what I'm imagining in my head. Like I'm imagining people in like white robes with like weird stoic expressions gathered around some kind of midsummer bed, like sending people off to save the earth or to save the NHS or whatever the fuck. Just oh god, I just can't believe that this is where we're at.
And we've got some more anime talk and people saying we should watch Berserk. I'd definitely watch it after Susu no Freiren. That's definitely like gonna get watched in its entirety. I'm also watching.
We'll check out Berserk.
This is my anime list for at the moment. I'm watching Delicious in Dungeon. That is fantastic and like such a fun, cute watch every week, and it's also really well animated and drawn.
And he insists that we eat dinner while we watch it every day. So
yeah.
Every time I make dinner, we have to watch Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, here's my list of movies and TV shows that I'm like keeping my eye on. I want to finish Three Body Problem, even though I didn't really enjoy it.
You slagged it off, and then I watched it by myself.
It's not very good.
It is. You gotta stick with it.
I'm really enjoying this anime that I'm watching with Jake. What was it called again?
Susu no Freiren.
It's quite cute. I was slagging it off to begin with. And then I was like, oh, this is actually really, like, once the plot gets in and it's like a magical girl thing, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I relate. So I'm actually really enjoying it. And I'm really looking forward to watching Shogun.
Yeah, we're going to watch Shogun.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about Shogun. And someone said that it was on par with Game of Thrones Season 1. So I'm like, if that's the truth, then I need to...
You're all in.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm also excited about Civil War. I love Kirsten Dunst. She's one of my favorite actresses, hands down, since I was a little girl and I saw Bring It On for the first time.
Bring It On.
Yes. And then I watched like everything from The Virgin Suicides. Like she's just like the actress of my childhood. And I love her and I think she's great. And she's been on this very based media tour recently, which I've loved. And Civil War looks pretty interesting.
Maybe.
If you haven't seen the trailer for it, I highly recommend.
Let's hope so.
It looks like a film that's trying to capture the current American zeitgeist in some way. It might be corny and shit, or it might actually
I've
be
got
good.
my money on the first. I've got my first.
You think it's going to be
money on the
bad?
former. Yeah, I haven't enjoyed an Alex Garland film for a very long time.
What other stuff has he done?
I remember the list coming up and me being like, oh, all those films are mid. I don't know why everyone's fucking excited about this.
That's not very nice. Let's see. What else has he done?
I also think the same about most of Chris Nolan's films. So maybe I'm just fucking stupid.
What else has he done? Someone said also watch Tokyo Vice. Someone said they want to watch the Chinese version of Free Body Problem. I agree. I want to see that too.
I started it, and honestly, dude, it has got so much more of the original vibe of the series in it, and just through the casting and the way the characters work, and they haven't changed the story that much. Like, it's actually fucking banging. I'm going to continue watching that eventually as well. But as you can tell, I'm kind of into my anime again at the moment.
Well, okay, so what else is this fella
Ex
done?
Machina. That was
I
one
really
liked.
love
That
Ex
was great.
Machina.
That was 10
Ex Machina is wonderful.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, but it's so good.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
But
okay?
it's so good.
Between then,
Annihilation was all right.
fell
Yeah,
asleep,
it's good.
Fell asleep.
I enjoyed it.
Shit film.
I enjoyed it. Men, I haven't seen.
Weird film that I heard was all about like
28 Days Later is basically one of my favorite films ever.
devs. Never heard of it.
I've never heard of Devs
Probably
either.
mid. Probably like a 60%. Oh no, got 82%.
Yeah, we should
Probably
check it
worth a
out.
watch.
He's
Probably
a
worth
great.
watch.
He's good. He's good. I
28
love
Days
the
Later I
beach.
enjoyed.
I love Sunshine. I love a lot of these movies.
Oh, dude, he did Dread. Okay, my mind's changed. He's
Yeah.
actually fucking dope.
I'm excited for Civil War. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Dread was
The
one
cast
of my faves.
looks great. Like I'm very much. I think it might be so. We're so
Why
since
doesn't he
we're
do another Dread? Why is he fucking around with all this other shit? He should do another Dread.
since we're talking about movies now, we have started a movie club in our Discord, which is going to commence next week. So I'm going to be starting up voting tomorrow in the Discord, and you get access to that through joining us on Patreon. $2 gets you access to the Discord to chat with us and to hang out there. $5 gets you access to the Discord and movie club. And then $10 gets you access to a tarot reading from me a month in any style you like. You could even meet me if you're in London, so long as you give me a book. I'm joking, you don't have to give me a book. But yes, if you sign up for our Discord, you get access to that. And one of the films that I want to put on the list is We Live in Public, because we talk about that movie all the time. And I also want Civil War to be one of the films that we meet up and discuss as well.
That might be hard. It depends on how quickly it's on streaming.
Well, yeah. We'll try it. We'll try and get it.
I don't want to ask people to go to a fucking cinema and watch a film.
It might be fun because it's a big movie of the year.
No one's gonna do it. No one's gonna do it. And there'll be like 3 people there. I'd rather have a film that everyone's access to.
We're
so we can
voting.
all just watch it.
We're voting this week either way, so everyone will have their democratic say.
Why? We run it. Why do we need to say
Because I'm not
anyone?
a fascist like you.
Oh my god.
I believe
We're
in
the
democracy.
king and queen of this.
I believe in democracy, and I think people should be given a voice.
No,
so
we should
I
just
let
be like, I
people
want
have
to
a
watch
voice.
this. You're gonna watch it with me.
I think that's fascism. I'm joking. No, I like giving people a vote because then people feel more involved. So it's fine by me.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to join us for Movie Club this month, feel free to join us on Patreon. The list and the voting will be commencing tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening.